This is People's Water Board Coalition Water Wednesday webcast for June 14th.
Welcome, 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 beloved community. We are back again with yet another installment of the People's Water Board Coalition's Water Wednesdays webcast. As always, I take this journey with my favorite co-host, Valerie Jean Blakely. Can't forget our tech person behind the scenes, Miss Angelica. And to all our viewers, thank you again for tuning in. Today, we have the pleasure of having someone back again. We did have her on the show, I think, in our first year. And we're so grateful to have her back. Her name is Miss Hadassah Greensky. She's an Anishinaabe artist, musician, activist, and a water protector, water warrior extraordinaire. And we're so glad to have her back on the show. Thank you, Hadassah, for coming back on the show. We really appreciate you taking, the time out of your schedule to do this.
Yeah, no problem. Calling me an extraordinaire. I'm just a regular human, so I'm really grateful to be here and for the work that you do and that you put on a show like this, bring awareness to water.
Thank you. We do what we can, but I think we're all extraordinary just to do and live in this work and in this truth. So it's very important.
Yeah. Well, I am so grateful that you're here because first of all, we don't always get to have high vibe goodness conversations on Water Wednesday. A lot of times we talk about the hardest stuff that's happening to people in their region and in their communities. So it's always good to kind of break that up a little bit and talk about something special and high vibe goodness. And we only got a half-hour show, so I'm going to jump right into it. And again, thank you for being here. So you and I were talking about water walks, and I know that you have organized quite a few of them. But we wanted to talk about the history of the water walks, why they're so important. And I was hoping maybe you'd bring up the legacy of Josephine Mandamin a little bit and talk about that as well. So
yeah. My cousin Philip, he's kind of one of my mentors, and he was actually really close to Grandmother Jo, and even walked a little bit with her. And he was the one that really helped educate me about, her legacy. I've heard of her, but I didn't know what exactly she was doing. She was Turtle Clan from Wakwemekong, and she actually went to Sundance. I think it was like early 2000s, and the Sundance chief there said to everyone, he said, water is going to be more expensive than gold by the year 2030. So what are you going to do about it? Mm-hmm. And so that's when Grandmother Jo was like, well, I don't know what I can do, but pray for the water. And so what she started doing is she took her copper pail, filled it with water, and started walking around the lakes. And she walked around every Great Lake. And she did it over 10, 15-year span. And people started walking with her and praying for the water with her. And that is a feat that just hasn't been matched, that level of dedication, especially for an elder, just really inspiring. And so one of the things that a walk like that, even like a mile or two, when you're carrying that water, you're always conscious of that weight that you're carrying. So it's hard to ignore the water itself. And, keeping that constant prayer as it's swinging down by your hands. And a lot of folks today, we deal with a huge detachment from the land and from the water. And so with a new shift in consciousness, I think people are kind of moving in that direction, being aware of whose land they're on, what invasive species are, how the ecosystem has been impacted by colonialism and capitalism and just development. Well, we see it every day, gentrification, whatever words you want to use, and how we get back to what's underneath the concrete. And so part of it is just the awareness and knowing that the water has a spirit. and it has, it needs us just as much as we need the water, and so I've been really asking folks, especially some of the younger water protectors, do you go to the water on a day, on a weekly, on a monthly basis? Do you have a relationship with the water? And part of these water walks is really taking like a concentrated amount of time to think about that, to think about your relationship with the water, to really concentrate and meditate and be in prayer with the water. So, obviously it's more on a small scale what I do, but I'm also Turtle Clan. So it feels like, Grandmother Jo is very much a relative of mine. We're all connected. She'd be my clan sister in our ways. And so she really is family, even though I never met her. I feel like she does walk with me, and when we do these prayer walks, it's about a little over 5 miles around Belle Isle. And, the last mile we do in dedication to, folks that have walked on, that, carried on these fights, and just really taking the time to, because a lot of people will chit chat, but it's also good to remember that focus of like why we're here, because it can be easy, especially in this world, to be distracted. What's difficult is to let your mind become still and actually put that time in to pray. So that's what I'm in some ways like helping folks to do. I'm just providing space for that. And we should be coming up with another summer water walk soon. I think there's a really good group in Detroit. They've been really helpful. And we just did a really successful open mic yesterday. And I think there's more than likely going to be some more of those too. So I feel really well supported in that way. And,
I don't think that we think about it enough about our relationship with water in that way, like nurturing a relationship, like being with it and sitting with it. And the water walk seems like such a beautiful way to nurture that relationship and to really think about it. I was blessed to meet Josephine in 2013 in New York at the Climate March. I was able to sit and talk with her, and she's just a gentle person. She had a way of, she spoke very slowly and calmly and intentfully about water and why it was and how it was the greatest thing spending that kind of time with it. She's really, really special person. And the world was so much better because of her. And she made such a difference in the world, and certainly in my life, in the way that I protect water, in the way that I do the work that I do. And just such a beautiful legacy to leave behind, those water walks and that relationship, and reminding us of that relationship. It's just so special. So you talked about the water walks that you organized in Detroit before. Can you tell us a little bit about them, and then kind of connect them to the water struggle around Line 5 and the rest of the water struggles throughout Michigan? And I know that you talked very intensely about that and what that connection was. And I just think it's so special and important for folks to hear.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Us being Detroiters, one of the beautiful things about this city is that we're right next to the river. And, a lot of folks, I feel like, in their search for connectivity, they sometimes forget that they need to develop that relationship where they're at, and all these waters in the Great Lakes are connected.
Right.
So, if we're not taking care of the waters as best as we can, if we're not talking and singing and praying for the water where we're at, kind of like, what business do we have doing that elsewhere?
Yeah.
All that water is connected though. So even those prayers going into the river are going to help the water that's up and near the streets, But yeah, just getting folks to really just have that relationship, so that when you do go up to a place like Mackinac or Little Traverse Bay, that you even know what to do, and that you feel comfortable with that relationship with the water. The Straits of Mackinac, It's a really interesting point. It has a current that actually flips 180 degrees about every 3 days. I've actually sat and watched it happen. I stayed at Little Traverse. My tribe actually has a small cabin up in the Wilderness State Park on the Straits of Mackinac. And I took my kayak out every day and spent time on the water. And I felt it. I felt the shift. You know, you can literally, like, on a different day, the water will be going a different direction. And so there's this, like, you know, give and pull that goes back and forth between the straits, which means that water does eventually come down to a place like Detroit too. Right. So meaning that with the Line 5 pipeline there, it being a 70-year-old pipeline, you know, it's a high risk in an exceptionally high risk area. Yeah. It's actually the worst possible place for an oil spill should it happen, because it's not just about the oils flowing in one direction. There will be a point that if that oil spills, it will come down to Lake St. Clair. It will come down to the Detroit River. Yeah. There's no doubt about it, you know? So if there's anything that we can do to just pray for the water and build a relationship with the water, you know, before it gets sick, because she's going to need our help. She's going to need our help trying to prevent this, and she's going to need our help if something is to happen, you know? So might as well start that relationship now and just get comfortable with it.
That's why so many of us for literally the last decade have been resisting this pipeline.
Absolutely.
It would be devastating to not just the animals and the environments and all of the people. It would be devastating. And if you think the water's bad in Michigan now, because of the pipes, imagine an oil spill, right? Like, imagine an oil spill, and it would affect, just really worst case scenario. It would be catastrophic, an oil spill there. It would be. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because I remember the oil spill in Louisiana, the BP oil spill. Like, they still have effects of that now, and it was years ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're still picking out. You can go to the Kalamazoo River right now after the Enbridge oil spill there, and still find tar balls. We call them tar balls because tar sands is what runs through those oil pipelines.
Right.
It's really sticky and thick, and it lasts forever. And you can still to this day find the tar balls, and I'm sure that you can still go to the Gulf and see the effects of the oil spill there. It's just excuse to have a pipeline, a tar sands pipeline running through water. There's just no reason for it. There's no excuse.
And I mean, the Kalamazoo oil spill too is, you know, it happened from Line 6B, which is also run by Enbridge, who runs Line 5, Line 3.
Go figure.
They also had 2 oil spills up in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan at Lake Gogebic. But since it was in a less densely populated area, they could cover it up a little bit more. You know, so this is a company that has a history of oil spills. So what makes us think that this isn't going to happen again?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially with the pipeline being far over its, you know, period of workability and being able to be in good condition. Like, it's already an expired pipeline.
Yeah, they should have expired it. And it runs through 70 different tributaries throughout Michigan. So any spill, any part along the line, at any point along the line would be catastrophic. You know, like 70 different tributaries, that's a lot of water. That's a lot of water. So anywhere along the line, it would be catastrophic.
And they're starting to puncture through the aquifers too, which means that there's a chance they'll contaminate our groundwater.
Yeah.
Which is also very catastrophic. Like, that is like, we won't have drinking water. Like, forget about our beaches. That's much farther beyond that. Like, we won't have drinking water.
Yeah. And we get our water from Lake St. Clair. or our drinking water here in Detroit from Lake St. Clair. So everything's very much connected. And if we think for any reason that we would be left out of the equation, we're extremely wrong. And we're not paying attention. If folks think that we're far enough away, no, we're not. So you have, and I'm really excited about this, you have submitted a piece of art, an article. Now, the art actually had a lot to do with Line 5. In an article for Riverwise, the summer edition. It'll be out the second week of July. I can't wait to share it with folks. And I was so thrilled that you submitted it. Angelica, can you pull up the piece of art? And Hadassah, can you kind of explain what we're looking at, what the pieces of it are, and talk about it in the terms of relationship with water and Line 5 and all of that. Can you explain it?
Yeah, for sure. I first want to talk about just kind of the vision behind it. I think all of my art is really like, it's not necessarily like my idea. It always feels like a sort of vision. Like, it always feels like a gift every time that a new piece of art comes out, because it's like something almost like the spirits just put in my mind, and you're like, okay, you're gonna do this now. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So
I love it.
I've been sitting on this piece for a second, and I finally finished it after a year. This fight is so intense. I had to take a break, because it really, really just hurt my heart, because it just felt like there was no solutions, but there's still hope, and there's still, like we're living in really prophetic times. So, one of the first parts of the art, is this miga shell. Miga shell in our language, it translates to a cowrie shell. And there's a story of prophecies that took us from different places where we, ended up living our lives. And this is pre-contact. So as people, we migrated from the eastern seaboard. We stopped at Niagara, and the third stopping point was actually Detroit. And the fourth stopping point was about Sugar Island and the Straits of Mackinac. And so that's one of the small little, I guess, like, Easter eggs of the painting here. Yeah, you can see it right by the snake, is that little cowrie shell. And a lot of those prophecies are tied in with the land. And, it's a place that's all of our Anishinaabe people, their ancestors have passed through at one point or another. So, oh man. Yeah. So there was this prophecy that was given to me by an elder woman from the tribe. She talks about it all the time, and a couple women do. They talk about the prophecy of the black snake and the thunderbirds. And they say that area around the Straits of Mackinac is to be the place of the last battle of the black snake and the thunderbirds. The black snake, we've come to know being the pipelines. And, there's kind of this relationship between the thunderbirds and the water. They strike the water heats up, and it makes the clouds for the thunderbirds. And when that system is out of balance, that's when things start to get a little chaotic. You can see the thunderbirds in here, in their wings. It's kind of hard to tell, but there's actually the Pleiades in there, which is a story from, story that we have about the seven sisters, and actually where we believe we came from. And then the thunderbirds are connected to the turtle, which is actually my clan. And also the area Mackinac is known as the heart of the turtle. And that area, that is actually my tribal territory and my clan territory. The tribal territory is known as the land of the crooked tree, which the crooked trees came out post contact. when the colonizers were coming through the region and cutting down the trees. And so, you know, our people were doing everything they could to try to protect their sacred trees, their council trees. And we ended up taking the branches and starting to twist them and tie them to the ground so that it would be no longer used for lumber. And so the whole region started popping up with all these twisted trees, and the French came in and started calling it l'arbre crochet. And so from that point on, it was known to us, Wabanakasin, the land of the crooked tree. So to me, you know, that seems like a huge symbol of resistance to me too. You know, even though you cut down so much, you won't take our spirituality, you won't take our grandfathers, you know. And then next to the turtle, I have this muskrat. And the story of the muskrat goes back to, you might know it as the world on a turtle's back, which is where the world flooded and Sky Woman fell and fell into the waters, and all the animals around her were panicking, and they didn't know what to do. There was no more land, and they asked Sky Woman for help, and Sky Woman got onto the back of the turtle and told everyone to get up there. And she said, if we can just get a piece of dirt from the bottom of the ocean, we can start a new world again. And so all the animals tried, the eagle, the otter, and none of them came up successful. They thought the best swimmers, even the fish, you know, tried and could not go all the way down. And then Muskrat volunteered. And all the animals started laughing at Muskrat. How could you, little scrawny animal, possibly go down and get that dirt for us? And the animals laughed and laughed and laughed, and he went down and dove, and they kept laughing. And then some time went by, and some bubbles came up, and soon Muskrat, the animals got worried, and soon Muskrat ended up floating up to the top on it, his lifeless body. So, whoops.
Still on it.
Sorry, it's Siri talking to me. In Muskrat's paw was this piece of dirt. He succeeded, but he gave his life for that piece of dirt.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And Sky Woman, you know, she thanked Muskrat, and she took that piece of dirt and put it on the turtle's back and just blew on the piece of dirt, and it spread out and it became what we know as Turtle Island today.
Wow.
And it was really a gift for us, you know, from the most unexpected, you know. That is a lesson in of itself. You know, some of the most powerful things come from those that we don't expect it to come from, you know. And so just to remember that story, put the muskrat in there. And then also, you know, the land is in there connected to that prophecy, the Mika shell. And, you know, because of the pipeline, you know, she's pale and sick and crying for the star people to come help her. And you know, that's actually a space for the breeding ground of the whitefish too. And they're also starting to get sick from this pipeline, and the future plans of it too, which includes them putting a tunnel through there. They say it's not going to be any sort of impact to the ecosystem, but they're drilling 17-foot wide tunnel, and they're going to be drilling down 300 feet. And I just kind of fail to see how that's not going to be impactful to these really precious gifts that we were given, you know. So to me,
how it's going to stop an oil spill, or like
in
an old pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just you know, we've been given a gift here, and so many people are abusing it. You know, we might end up going into another world where we have a flood again, just to remember what it's like to be without help.
Hadassah, we can't see you. Your hands over. I think it's your hands over the. There you go. Yeah,
I
there you
go. Say that I love to hear you talk about water and the earth the way that you do. And I think it's very important for everyone to hear, because water is a living being. It's not something to be taken for granted. She is life and she gives life. And I think that more people need to look at it that way, instead of it just being a resource to serve them. That's not what water is. And it's just like really beautiful to hear her being spoken of in that way, and to also hear the history of Turtle Island. I think it's very beautiful, and it's very important that these stories are out and that people are able to learn. Because I still, even though I have a lot of doubts in humanity sometimes, I still feel like if you learn better, you can do better. So I think it's vitally important that these stories continue to be told and passed down from one generation to the next, so that it can be told and people can understand and remember.
That's why I'm so thrilled to share this art piece with the world. I really am. I when you submitted it, it made my heart feel good. It did. And yeah, everybody look out for it. It's going to be in the summer issue, 2023 issue of Riverwise. And you can go to our website and subscribe, and we'll send you one right to your door, so you don't have to worry about getting it. Riverwise Detroit. Yes. So we have a special treat, right? You have a special treat for us. You're going to sing for us.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So, Grandmother Joe actually, while she did all these walks, she came up with a water song. Maybe it's like my art, and it wasn't really something she came up with or something more that she was gifted. And so the water protectors, they know this song. Sometimes they forget where it comes from. It comes from this phenomenal woman who walked around all the Great Lakes as an elder. She walks for my clan and
that's a gift.
Yeah. And, I'm going to sing that for you guys. And it just talks about loving the water and thanking the water. So I'll just go through it once. And yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you're at home when you know this song, sing along. Way-ah, 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 ho. Way-ah, 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 ho. Ni-bi ke-za-ge-go. Gi-mi-gwe Jawe ni-mi-go. Gi-jawe ni-mi-go. Way-ah, 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 ho. Way-ah, 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 ho. Ni-bi Gi-za-ge-go. Gi-mi-gwe Jawe ni-mi-go. Gi-jawe ni-mi-go.
That was beautiful.
It was.
Thank you. There's something so healing about it every time I hear it. I'd love to hear you sing it when you sing it. Thank you. Thank you. That's the high vibe goodness. That was,
yes.
Yeah, that's what we need. That's what we need, because everything that they're doing nowadays is trying to bring us down. That is like true decolonial work, is learning to still have joy in all of it. Still learning to have high vibes with all of it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's what they don't want.
That is what they don't want. That's the stuff that brings us together. We're feeling, that's the stuff that's what they're really worried about. It is.
And music and art is so powerful because it bridges gaps that are unimaginable. You don't have to understand what the person is saying. You don't have to understand the language. You don't have to understand anything at all. You just have to look, enjoy, and absorb
And
it.
feel it. Yeah,
All
it really feel it.
That's it. And it will
I'm
heal.
so great. I'm so grateful that that you came on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
To all of our listeners, please share this out. Give somebody else a healing blessing today. For sure. Nicole, thank you for always going on this journey with me. And thank you, Angelica, in the background. Daza, thank you for everything that you do to make the world a better place.
Yes.
And everything that you teach me. Anytime I'm with you, you teach me something, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I'm so appreciative that you came on today. And your song, it infused me with strength and power as I head out right after this show to fly to San Diego for a water conference. So it's given me that power to go deal with, people that are like-minded, but also
heavy stuff
that don't have a clue how important water is and what she means to us.
That's right.
Right.
Well,
never alone.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you to our listeners. Please share this out, and look out for each other. Try to take care of each other, and try to stay afloat, my friends. Till next time. Bye.